Charles, the devolution of New York and the United States in general continues as you travel. How are you today, Charles?
Well, I'm feeling well. I should be jet lagged, but I'm not. And it's a pleasure, frankly, to be about as far away from New York City as you can be without going all the way to Australia and or maybe Antarctica. But
We should go there. Shepard would come.
or Australia.
Antarctica.
Uh, I don't like ants,
I don't think you're
but
allowed to go. Shepard was explaining they have all kinds of secret bases. Charles, before we get underway, I think it's important that we remind people, first of all, that you are in an undisclosed location that we will not disclose, but to accommodate your international travel and the time zone differences, we're once again pre-recording this show, and given the really volatile nature of everything that's going on right now, I just want people to understand that if anything happens in the small number of hours in between the time that we are recording and the time that people watch this episode, if anything earth-shattering has happened that we don't mention here, that's the reason.
yeah, good point, Jason. Good point. Well, the art department has done another great job, and PSYCHJOE continues to just, I mean, we're in a zone now where if you were grading as a teacher, if you're grading this doofus's performance, I mean, he has failed on so many fronts so far. I was just asked for comments for one of the organizations that I actually have been doing a lot of work with quite a while, giving interviews, and they're besides, I mean, they can't believe, nor can I, that this man is still president of the United States. I mean, we tried, the left tried under the Trump years to have Trump removed from office because walking on new leather-soled shoes at West Point, he appeared to be, walking down an incline, he appeared to have trouble doing that on a hot day. They tried to give him a hard time because he was shakily drinking a glass of water. I mean, this is a person who, first of all, is continuing Obama's war on capitalism against the private sector, doing everything he can. So one of the most productive in terms of exports sectors of the United States, and we need to export goods to collect currency to try to keep the dollar afloat. That's very important. To have a service-based, government-dominated economy where too many overpaid bureaucrats and consultants are writing memos to one another, that doesn't create foreign currency to pay down our external debt. Exporting LNG does. Exporting other forms of energy and products, that really does do that. And instead of doing everything he can, and the administration can, to promote export-led activity in the private sector, he's crushing. And as are his many minions and communists, basically Maoists in government. At the same time, he's taking this private sector, the notion that if we have a problem, we ought to turn to the private sector to solve it, the public sector to solve it. It's like saying, if you want to have peace in your town, why don't you bring in the mafia? I mean, it's ridiculous. Peace and the lack of drugs and other problems in your town. I mean, this reflexive, I'm going to bring down the debt by spending another 1.7 trillion in 12 months, more than I've earned, and try to claim on television, I'm bringing down the debt. I'm cutting the debt. I've created more jobs than any other president. Bullshit. The jobs that, in theory, first of all, few of them are full-time. Most of them are part-time. To the extent you're creating jobs that are important, full-time jobs, many of these jobs are just jobs that existed pre-COVID and are only reluctantly now coming back. That's on domestic policy and economic policy. When you get to foreign policy, I mean, I think we're in a place now where if you want to say Russia is our enemy, the biggest problem Russia might have now thinking about America is who the fuck is in charge of this place? And how do you decide what to do at this stage? Who do you punish? Who do you try to interact with inside the Biden regime? It's unclear to me. Joe Biden doesn't appear to know where he is on a minute-by-minute basis. He talks utter garbage to the extent he says anything. He never answers questions. And if you're sitting there as a NATO ally, close to Russia, close to being punished if Russia wants to punish you, aren't you a bit worried about being a NATO ally with Joe Biden and the American military being the most significant portion of NATO today? Aren't you really scared? And now there's a really important article I just sent you, Jason, in the New York Post about this guy. I think it's Rob Mallett. Yeah. And this is scary puke, this guy. I mean, he's so bad that even the Biden administration bounced him and the FBI's investigating him, which means they're probably trying to cover it up. But in this article alleges that it's not the 6 billion alone that's a problem, but it's maybe more than 100 billion that Iran was allowed to earn when sanctions weren't enforced against it under the Biden administration. So, here we have the Obama administration was very pro-Iran and very anti-Sunni, particularly the Gulf monarchies, Saudi Arabia.
Wait a minute. Look at this, Charles. This guy was placed on leave for allegedly mishandling classified information. So now we've got a guy who's accused of mishandling classified information and suspicion of a potential direct connection to an actual war that threatens to upend the entire world. And this guy just gets suspended. I never heard about him before right now. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is talking to some idiot from Vanity Fair about an article in Newsweek or something. And for 2 years, all we've been hearing about is how he's sharing information about Iran. That's why they were doing that, Charles, because they knew about this guy.
Well, wait, what about the idea that Joe Biden supposedly spent 2 days recently, I guess before, was it before? No, it was after the attack. He had a previously scheduled, not, I don't think under subpoena, but just voluntary discussion regarding his own mishandling. That's Joe Biden's mishandling of classified information. I mean, the Iran front, to me, the situation in Iran and the Middle East it's tragic. I mean, it's very complex if you want to let it be complex. But to me, it's as simple as this. That problem region has been a problem region vis-a-vis the U.S. for a long time. You could say forever. 73, since the 73 oil embargo. But start with an economic problem for us, right? When they jacked the price of oil and gas fourfold in 73, that it created unfavorable economic conditions that lasted until 1982. That one move. Wow. And so, you look at this whole mess, and it's 50 years of a mess. How much money, aid money, has gone both to Israel and to other countries in the region? Where has that money really ended up? And the answer is likely in Swiss bank accounts, and real estate, and fancy art, and jewelry, and high living, or whatever, and not for the benefit of the indigent Israeli, the indigent Palestinian, right? The dynastic political families all grift off of crises. And the Middle East crisis is just another one. We've got the AIDS crisis. Hey, that's a great opportunity. And now COVID was a great opportunity. And Ukraine has been a great opportunity. And Haiti was a great opportunity. And every time there's a natural disaster is another great opportunity. And, really, you want to take one of these conventions of all these leaders, and you want to, I wish no harm to any of these people, physical harm, real physical harm. But what you want to do is you want to get them all assembled, let's say at the UN. You want to have the power to take all those martinet douchebags who are weird uniforms guarding the UN. Say, guess what, Mr. Haitian douchebag? The rules have changed here. There's been a new executive order. Go over there to that truck and don't bother to pack your bags. We'll send your shit back to Haiti. You're done. Take all those people out, then surround the area with American or New York City police and American military people for their protection of the leaders. And you go to the leaders and you say, listen, gentlemen, ladies, this project and climate change and COVID and all these other projects, fuck all that bullshit. We're not going to talk about any of that today. We're going to talk
Secretary
about
General Ortel.
take Secretary General Gutierrez, say, dude, go back to Lisbon. I hear it's pretty nice in Portugal, and you were a big shit over there. Enjoy the rest of your life and focus on Portugal. All you other windbags in the room, you need to understand that while you don't pay taxes as part of the UN to anybody, that's over. UN is not going to be based in New York City anymore. Forthwith today, it's not based in New York City. There are no global projects that are going to be managed with taxpayer money. You can forget about a global climate tax. Go back to your respective countries and understand that we have used our resources to provide all the information we could find about the money that each of you has stolen in the name of fighting these crises. And you better be forthcoming with your national tax authorities and disclose how much you've stolen. Because if you don't do that, we are going to do that. And we're going to go after every American who's been stealing money, including the Clinton family.
Yeah.
And if it's Mitch McConnell and McConnell family, and anybody who's been in on the global grift, global crisis grift, who's American, we're going to fucking nail your ass to the wall. And you're going to pay these taxes. And if you don't have the money to pay the interest and the penalties, whatever, you're going to go to jail. And that's going to be a problem because it's going to be unlikely that while you're in jail, you can earn enough money to pay off these penalties and interest, which will accrue while you're in jail.
Charles, I was thinking about you yesterday. Archwell had a big event for Mental Health Day at Hudson Yards. And I don't know. What the hell does Megan, is she a mental health expert? She might be someone in need of mental health attention.
Possibly, sadly, her children most likely will. But yeah, I mean, celebrities. Yeah, I mean, look at even Dr. freaking Fauci. I mean, when we started on this, when you and you were ahead of me on this, on COVID and the lockdown, all this kind of stuff. When we started, it was dangerous. YouTube made it very dangerous and kicked you down many times and others down for questioning the alliance. Fauci calls it the science. I call it the alliance. And now you have Rand Paul, an actual physician, saying that Fauci, with some credibility, saying a lot of credibility, saying that Fauci belongs in jail. And I agree with that. Not necessarily because he got how the COVID thing was working incorrectly, and not necessarily just because he may have had a financial interest that he didn't disclose when he urged everybody to get the vax, but primarily because he created this idea that you can have some, a living version of the Travelocity garden gnome or whatever he was, prescribing a one-size-fits-all solution for 7.58 billion people, not knowing anything about your health, my health, or the audience's health. Just for that alone, standing up there, I've been working for 60 years and I'm a medical expert and I think I can do this because I know I can do this. He should be, disciplined for that because that's bullshit. No one doctor is going to understand exactly how to treat everybody on the planet for this, this affliction. And look at him, basking in the glory, appearing on Vanity Fair covers and magazine covers. I mean, the guys, the real hot, I mean, you know doctors and I know doctors. I mean, the real, there are some people who love celebrity, but the practitioners who are really into the trade, they just want to treat patients. And to the extent they're not doing that, they want to enjoy their family.
Well, and we've also spoken many times, Charles. You display this from a kind of an information and financial standpoint, but like responsible lawyers, responsible doctors, they don't just hurl out advice and information because they recognize that you're giving them a infinitesimally small portion of information about a large, they know they're looking at the tip of an iceberg and they don't want to rely on, mooring their ship on the tip of something that could break off and float away. They just stay away from giving advice from things they don't know a lot about. Fauci did the opposite. We also hear he was visiting with the CIA, and now, yesterday, I've uncovered more evidence of George's brother possibly getting a six-figure grant from the NIH. So if Fauci runs the NIH or is, pivotally involved as the head of the NAI, whatever he's the head of, and he's dealing with the CIA, and the NIH is investigating disinformation, I mean, this network permeates. We honestly just need to cut down on the wasteful spending and the moronic programs that are being funded by the U.S. government. I think we could eliminate the budget deficit just by cutting waste.
Well, I think yes, but I think it's also structural. I mean, I think what you have to do. The great turnaround artists I've known in the past, they don't go in with long lists of ideas, and I know you don't have a long list there, but what they do is they try to figure out, is the problem that the company has structural, i.e., there's something, this should be an apartment, not a house kind of problem. And I think it really is in the case of government. I mean, government was essential, particularly prior to the internet, for many projects that could not efficiently be handled by individuals dispersed around the nation. But with the internet and with other technological means, including this Zoom call, individuals can do a lot more efficiently than at any time possible in the past, which means we don't have the same demand for government. We don't have the same demand for inflexible bureaucrats who can't be fired because they're protected by a public service union. We don't have that anymore. And we should therefore we should be asking ourselves, so with regard to the federal government, first of all, how many different departments are there?
Yeah.
Effective immediately, there will be half as many.
Right.
Okay. And you can fight about which ones. If you guys can't decide which ones to cut, we're just going to make it very simple for you.
We'll cut it.
You can't have the Secretary of the Army and the Air Force and the Marines and all this kind of stuff. You can have a head of that department, but they're not going to be secretaries. There's going to be one Secretary of the Department of Defense. That's it. And everybody under that. You can't have all these bureaucracies in the Defense Department and all these diversity, equity, inclusion programs and all these social meddling programs and all these generals that we don't need. You're going to cut that by 80%. 80 management. So the top guys back home in Washington, D.C., you're going to cut that staff by 80%. You're going to increase the staff domestically, the line people domestically. And then we'll start talking about bases. Do we need bases in 100, or near bases in 150 countries? You have to go through that kind of debate. And it's not going to be fair and balanced. You're not going to have the progressive side. No.
But Charles, I feel this way about it.
You're triggering me.
Yeah. It's unsafe. So that's violence.
No, triggering is ridiculous. But I know you jumped on this BLM stuff. Good on Elon Musk for noticing that some fake part of BLM, because there's no BLM organization per se, some new BLM thing in Chicago is lauding the slaughter and is, saying that by these posts, I stand with the people who have paraglided in to massacre civilians.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Yeah. That right there, that should be. I mean, the BLM is not a legitimate. No part of BLM is a legitimate tax-exempt organization, but BLM, whoever put this together, needs to be questioned severely by the way the FBI and the IRS like to question Roger Stone. There needs to be a SWAT team raid on this person, and one needs to get right to the bottom of whether this, in fact, is an organization. I suspect it isn't. And a charity cannot advocate mass murder. There's no way that flies as a legitimate tax-exempt organization. Now, maybe this is just some rogue puke who's just acting out for his friends. But I fear that there is a deeper sentiment here throughout these hard left Black activists that it's okay to advocate violence, particularly against Jews.
Charles, this account is still on there. So I post things, I get kicked off for things that aren't even included in a tweet. This person, could you imagine if on September 12th, holy crap, how is this still here? So on September 12th, if somebody posted planes flying into the World Trade Center and said, I stand with Mohammed Atta, what the hell would people say?
Yeah.
Wow. And they're just giving it context? Wow.
Yeah.
How is that
And
not?
Musk noticed this, I mean,
But why
so
didn't they
there's
take
no,
it down? They're taking down, two of my accounts. I said that Andrew Weissman should face treason charges, listed the statute, which includes the penalty, which I won't even repeat here. And they said, oh, you're promoting violence and that's harassment. But here it's like, oh, yeah, we are all for land down at the concert and rape women and shoot everybody. They like that.
yeah. And it's sad on my Twitter feed, not Twitter feed, my Facebook page. And people need to understand, I don't really, my tweets are set to automatically appear on Facebook. So it may seem as if it's on Facebook, but I don't. And I haven't for years. But on my page, there are so many sad, heartfelt tributes to young people, specific people who were murdered recently in Israel. And these are mostly young men and women. And it's like every 10th posting, it seems. Didn't do a scientific analysis of it, but this is the kind of moment where if you truly were legitimately aggrieved and a vulnerable person, you would look at what happened. What is it? And we don't really know all the details yet of what happened in this latest exercise, but it's even that douchebag John Brennan was interviewed on MSNBC saying that this is the worst violence he's ever seen against civilians. It's despicable. This is John Brennan saying that, right? I mean, I don't exactly, and John Brennan is not not my flavor individual. If he's revolted by this, how could these people in BLM Chicago, or whatever the organization is, think that was a smart thing to even say? If you truly believe this, that you stand with the paragliders who went into the middle of a concert and with machine guns, butchered people, and it's reported that there apparently there's some tape, which I haven't seen and I don't want to see, of a bunch of these activists killing, raping and laughing and raping these young girls and then killing them, and then alternatively killing them and then raping the corpses and laughing. If that's
I haven't
true,
seen that.
Saying if it's true, if that's what really happened, there are some serious mental health problems over there. These are people who are despicable human beings, and to applaud that kind of behavior, I'm sorry, you're a despicable human being, and we know this has happened in the past. Remember, what was that incident? That moron Al Sharpton. I think it was Al Sharpton and others. There was some, huh?
Tawana Brawley?
No, there was some. I thought it was an Orthodox Jewish.
Oh yeah, the neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Right, and people were killed or whatever, and he was like egging it on, and I mean this
Crown
this is,
Heights riot. That's what that was.
Yeah, exactly. And I forget if it's Sharpton or it's another one of them, but this is really disgusting, frankly, behavior.
Yeah, because two Guyanese children were hit in a car accident when a rabbi or something went through a red light, and then they went crazy. See, something like that started I think the Yom Kippur War. Like a civilian in a car accident killed somebody, and then that led to intense riots. Charles, we have just 1 minute before we make our way over to the First Amendment Forum. People are going to be able to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I want to talk to you a little bit, Charles, about the really strange developments that are happening. One of the truly troubling videos that was one of the first that I saw is this one of a young woman in the back of a pickup truck, clearly broken. Her body, her chest is not inflating at all. There's several seconds of video footage showing her whole body, and she doesn't appear to be breathing. Her legs are obviously broken, and somehow a video came out, I think yesterday, of a woman saying she's this girl's mother, and that she's still alive. So a lot of people were saying, oh, see, you're spreading propaganda. The girl is still alive. But first of all, when? I mean, she could be alive there and 5 seconds later dead. She looks to be in pretty desperate condition. How do we know the mother knows that she's alive? And even if she is alive, they still kidnapped her, broke her legs, beat the crap out of her. How is this okay? I don't understand how people are rooting for this. But Charles, I want to get your response.
A quick one is that there are reports that this coordinated set of attacks involving Hamas and now Hezbollah and whoever's firing it from Syria were approved in advance, not necessarily by the Iranian government, but by the Revolutionary Guards in Iran. And I suspect that is true. I just don't believe that something like this could have happened willy-nilly. A lot of training, a lot of, the government level assistance was behind this. And I'm not advocating for war against Iran, but I am saying that, Jake Sullivan and our national security apparatus, these people are not even junior varsity. They're clueless, if not clueless, if they're not conflicted and treasonous.
Yes, we're going to get in depth on your position on all of this stuff in less than 5 minutes. Join us over there on the First Amendment Forum, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.